why I fundamentally no longer believe in the concept of time. I don't even actually believe time exists, and it sounds insane, but I'm going to explain it all to you guys. And the other thing I want to talk about is the importance of touching grass. Let's just start there. So much of the things that I discover, I get from breathing the Lord's oxygen. And when I say the Lord's oxygen, I mean the fact that I'm around actual nature. And every time I'm in nature, it's just like, it's like the floodgates of heaven's wisdom just like overload my brain, and it's just amazing. Anyway, I love days like this where I can actually be out in the middle of the day, like in nature, alone with the Lord. Time. Okay, so let me start with the scientific basis of it all. Scientific speaking, I've said to you guys before that according to science, this is not according to my opinion or my feelings or my perspective on God. This is what science has to say. Okay, I had to study this as a part of my degree, my chemistry degree, accredited by the Royal Society of Chemistry, that I got a bachelor's with honors in. Very, very, very just excited about that, because I just think that's insane that I actually managed to do it. Anyway, and in said research, also just to point out, to give myself, while we're here, a bit of credibility, my own personal research that I spent a whole year doing, majority of the time by myself, other than meeting with my supervisor maybe once a week for like an hour, I proved the same exact scientific research that is already in existence, and I was working at the forefront of science. Yeah. So when I tell you guys that I've studied the science and I've looked at it as a scientist, I'm not joking. And it's probably even deeper than you guys even realize. Actually, I had such a lovely conversation with a couple of the guys who are in engineering, robot coding, mining, steel, and all sorts. These are some of the people that I was on tour with. I say on tour, I was and did 2 shows. Anyway, let's get back to the point. Yeah. Time is one of the only few proofs that time exists. And it may even be the only one. That's the part I don't remember. I should study that. I should actually study that. Maybe I will. Anyway, is the fact that entropy exists. That's one of the few proofs of the existence of time itself. Now, the reason why I think this is worth even mentioning or questioning or thinking about is because time rules our lives, right? We are told there are 365 days in a year, or 364 and a quarter, and that's the leap year, every 4 years, because obviously 4 quarters makes a whole. You guys get the gist, right? We're told that there's 365 and a quarter days in a year, right? We're told that there are 52 weeks. There are 7 days in a week. There are 24 hours in a day. There are 60 minutes in an hour. There are 60 seconds in a minute, and so on. Our life is governed by time, to the extent to which, if I show up to my workplace and I'm supposed to start at 9 o'clock and I get there at 9:01, I'm considered late. Even though in previous generations, if we look in actual history, because the last 100 years isn't just history, listen guys, the last 500 years, in my opinion, is the history we should be also really looking at. Because some people 500 years ago were making 400-year plans. And that was William Lynch with the slave trade, who planned to enslave people for 400 years. That was the literal plan, and they executed the mission successfully, right? Time. Before, and a long time ago, there wouldn't be a clock telling you, or an alarm that you could put to go off. You would focus on the day. So right now, I'm sitting where? So the sun, from the angle that I'm sitting at, rises exactly like diagonal from where I am. It's one of the reasons I love this spot. It's absolutely beautiful for the sunrise, right? And that means the west is same angle, opposite direction, right? And so people used to just look at the sun. So I would know, like, become pretty good actually myself at estimating what the actual physical time is by looking where the sun is in the sky. Because like I said, the sun rises in the east, sets in the west. It's supposed to be at the top center of the top at about noon. That's how people used to do timing. I'll meet you so-and-so at noon. So somewhere in there, I'm at least pitching to you the concept that time is a construct, to use a super popular term these days. Time itself is a construct. So when we're talking about whatever we're talking about, even the fact that I've been saying, oh, I'm 27 years, it's all because of time. Because there was a time where people were living hundreds of years. So 27 wouldn't be considered in the same manner that being 27 would be considered to Noah. Noah was all having kids at friggin' 100. I'm saying. So, like, how many people make it to 100 these days? So, and again, God is the one who decided, I'm going to make human people's lives even shorter. You guys are already taking yourself to destruction, and this is where I'm going with it. If the law of entropy states that the universe is always moving closer to disorder, and the fact that it's doing that observably, quantitatively, tangibly, is the very reason we believe time exists. The fact that the universe is decaying, the fact that we are moving in a state of decay and destruction and disorder, and we observably, tangibly, quantitatively can calculate and prove it. And one of the biggest things you use as a scientist when you are observing something, like when you're drawing a graph or something, is time, right? So for something that like some of these GCSE physics students that like I've been teaching would have to do, it will be like, plot this graph of the speed versus the time and calculate the velocity, which, if I'm not mistaken, I'm not getting my words mixed up. If you draw a graph of speed and velocity and you find the gradient of the line, it would actually, the gradient is equivalent to the velocity, I believe. Actually, anyway, let's not me start going all the way off into wherever I'm going to go off into. Actually, of course it makes sense, because gradient is either positive or negative, like velocity, which has direction. Okay, I kind of get it anyway. So, it's against time. At time this, like at time whatever, you left your house in your car, that's T0, right? Or T1 even, depending. It's like when I'm in the airplane, right? V1. V1 is when the airplane has reached the speed in which it is calculated that it can take off the ground, right? And the pilots have to plug in all this information while we're all getting comfortable in the plane. They're calculating this in the cockpit because they're absolutely insanely intelligent. Bring back the respect for pilots, and also what psychopath you have to be to sit in the front of a cockpit and say, yeah, I'm going to just be the one to say, let's all 200 of us, let's just hit like 40,000 feet in the next like 10 minutes. Crazy. V1, that's the speed, velocity 1, right? And then they hit V rotate, and V rotate is like the speed when the pilots actually start to lift the plane, as in the plane is now going, because it's hit V1, it's hit the speed, the velocity, but the speed, velocity can be interchanged sometimes for reasons I'm not going to get into. It has now hit the velocity in which it is moving quickly enough in the right direction, etc., that it can take off, it can fly, it can now be airborne. Then V rotate, and they rotate the plane, they just pull the nose up, and the plane starts to lift off the ground. Insane, right? All of these numbers, the timings, the this, the that, there's a time in which the pilot, first of all, before they even take off and before they even go to take off speed, what they actually do, again, so fascinating. I'm obsessed with airplane engines, if it wasn't clear. I'm obsessed with engines as a whole because I love engineering. Engineering is my favorite area of science, also quantum mechanics and quantum physics, but anyway. machines and quantum. Yeah, so before the airplane even goes to take off, one of the things that pilots do, right, is, and this is so cool, I think, is while you're you're starting the engines, because we're not always running on the engines, right? Starts off electrical, then they move over to the engines, if I'm getting that, if I'm explaining that properly. Once they now start the engines, they don't go from 0 to whatever V1 is, or to full thrust. Well, full thrust for the flight, but yeah, V1. They don't immediately go there. What they actually do is they start the engines and they push them up to about like 30%, so that they can make sure that the thrust coming out from the engines is symmetrical. And then, so that's why you initially hear like a and the plane's not really going anywhere. It's not even moving yet, but you can hear the engines are on. You can hear them moving. You're probably on the on the how have I forgotten what it's called? Is it a runway? Is it called a runway? No, I'm so confused. No, it's not. What's the name? Oh, I'm so annoyed. Anyway, or you might not be if they're doing a rolling takeoff. And a rolling takeoff is when they're not actually on the runway on the spot, but from wherever they come from, they go to takeoffs immediately as soon as they turn. And I just think rolling takeoffs are sick because you can hear them doing the engine thing while you're not on the runway. I had a rolling takeoff in one of these flights I just had. I think it was on my flight. Yeah, it was on my flight back. We did a rolling takeoff. We were like off on the side, and then the engine started, and I can always sense when the pilot's going to do a rolling takeoff. I don't know how, but anyway, they did a rolling takeoff. They just continue and then they take off. Anyway, the point was there is a difference in time. All of this has to be organized in a specific order in order to happen in this way, in order to defy the so-called logics of the world that exist, right? So what I'm trying to say is that this is all a big, huge game, and time is another piece in the game, but it's like one of the strongest, if not the strongest piece of all, because I find it fascinating, right? I'll tell you why I find it fascinating to think about. I find it interesting how people describe time as the way that the word is just used. I'm a young woman. I'm 27. So people say, you've got a lot of time. You've got your whole life ahead of you, right? Or I don't have the time to do this. Time. And it's crazy that we're all more obsessed with money than we are obsessed with gaining time. And as I've said to you guys, the hack of knowing the Lord, where the Bible literally says that the beginning of knowledge is the fear of God. God is all wisdom. Jesus was pure wisdom personified. Follow the Lord and you'll buy time. Because gaining wisdom is buying time. And I say this all the time. This is one of our winning things that we should know about by now, right? So I think about how somebody will say to one person, they don't have the time to go to the gym. To another person, they always have time for the gym. No matter what the state is, no matter anything, or at least for working out. It doesn't matter anything, they always have the time. And so it is a very moldable concept. Again, how different would our work lives and our day-to-day, even meetings, we say, oh, hi, I'm gonna come to your house at 1:00, all of that. And again, what's something that loosens with comfortability? If you've known somebody for longer, if somebody says they're coming to the first time you go to see somebody and they say, oh yeah, come to my house at 1:00, you're probably going to get there exactly at 1:00, perfectly at 1:00, because you don't want to have a bad impression, right? When you guys are comfortable, if somebody says, oh yeah, come around at 1:00, you getting there at 10 minutes past 1 isn't a big deal, right? Anymore to either of you, because you said you were coming around 1, it's 1, like it's around 1, because that's how we were built to be. But this society that we're in is been orchestrated differently. I find it interesting how in places like, no, it's Korea, I believe, in South Korea. I think it's South Korea, one of the East Asian countries. They have this thing where everybody's known as a year older than the year they actually are. And it's crazy. Like there's all this stuff anyway. To do with time, and it's something that really is a restraint for us. I think about this a lot because of homeschooling. Like the day that I decided the time I was deciding, like, am I actually gonna like homeschool? Like, because for me, I make decisions, and I don't make decisions based on my circumstances, because I have a God who has infinite wisdom, infinite bank account, infinite opportunities, infinite provision, infinite wisdom, infinite everything. So if I can see it, the Bible says that God will do exceedingly and abundantly above anything I can ask or think. So for me, it's not about it does anything I want to do look possible based on my circumstances. It's how much do I believe God? Like, you know what I'm saying? That's what it comes down to. I started thinking about homeschooling. There's a reason why I mentioned that. I started thinking about homeschooling a lot because I really want to homeschool. Part of the reason I did my degree that I was flashing about at the start of the video is because I was like, if I study chemistry, I'll cover all the sciences and maths, which is the hardest subjects that people find. I'll still have to learn skills from the other subjects. So like when it comes to things like language, English, I still had to physically write this whole long paper, which is thousands and thousands of words. I had to define all of if you guys can watch the video, I explain my whole science, what I did for my scientific research. You guys can go and check that out. I had to do a lot of my linguistic abilities were also going to be challenged. My physical abilities, I have to do experiments. So I was like, I feel like if I do chemistry, basically what I'm saying is I felt like if I could do chemistry and I could be good at chemistry, I could explain everything, right? And homeschool myself, right? Because they're my children, and if they're anything like me, oh Lord, I actually wouldn't even wish that for the teachers, to be fair. because I was actually a nightmare at school, to be honest. A nightmare that got away with a lot of stuff because I was very, very sweet and nice to people. Anyways, so I think about that. And a lot of people's reason why they wouldn't homeschool is time. I don't have the time, or while they're, if I'm, the time I'm supposed to be homeschooling them is the time I'm at work. It's like, who made it like that is my question for starters. But we won't even get to that just yet. I'll tell you guys a story about a couple on YouTube, and their YouTube channel is titled Our Tribe of Many. And I'm telling you guys because these guys are the reason I 100% decided I was going to homeschool my children. And it's one of the reasons that I also moved out of London, because I was like, I'm not going to be able to be doing this boss babe business while I'm trying to like homeschool some kids. It's not going to happen the way I'm doing it. So I'm going to have to restructure my entire life to make it so that I can actually do that. Right. That's how much I really want to homeschool. Like, I want to homeschool so badly. Anyway, and the reason why I want to homeschool, by the way, guys, is because I want my children to be happy. I want them to be happy. I want them to believe in themselves. I want them to grow up in an atmosphere of peace, love, joy, order, like stability, imagination, miracle. Like, I want them to believe in miracles. I want them to see a version of life that I never had as a child, right? And I just want that for them more than anything. I want them to be happy. I want them to thrive. I want them to outdo me at everything. I want them to, like, whatever they want to do. Like, it's not about me and choosing their destiny. I'm not going to tell any of my kids, you have to be this or you have to do that. No, 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 no. You are just a very special gift that the Lord has entrusted with me. And I'm going to do my best to bring the best out of you and to let you live. And that's why I want to homeschool my kids. Because one of the things I will not be doing in homeschooling that's completely unnecessary is having these kids in school for so long. And again, time. Why do kids have to be in school? Who said they need to be in school? Like, let me see. What's my brother's school schedule? He starts at, my brother's 14 for context. He starts at, I think it's 8:15 to 4:30 is his school day. And I've talked at length. Obviously, my brother previously had asked me sometime last year, I was like going to do lessons with him because he asked me, he was like, my maths teacher's terrible. And it was funny because he's like, she's also black and the same age as you and has red hair, which I thought was really funny. Why is he in school for all that time? Who says he needs to be in there that whole time for his time to have even been used effectively? Because that's another thing that I've mastered, to be honest. I've mastered, and I learned this when I was taught algorithms, when I was learning mathematics. I'm telling you that doing sciences and maths has been so beneficial to my life. We're doing about algorithms, and one of the algorithmic methods that we had to learn was about like, not conservation of time. That's another whole conversation for another day. I would have to do a deep dive. Anyway, we're talking about how you can... It was basically like, we'll do these, to put it in like a very, very simple example. And this is something I use to this day. It's like, how many tasks can be done at the same time? And how can you organize them every your day so that as many tasks can be done at the same time while taking in like all the variables? So like a very simple example of that is, you're not going to be able to drive to go and put petrol or gas in your car at the exact same time that you're going to be able to drive to go to your, I don't know, your friend's house, because they're both own two individual events that both require a car, and that both require you being in that car at that time specifically, and therefore cannot be done at the same time, right? But what you could do is, if you just have to go to put some petrol or gas in your car, is put clothes in the washing machine, right? Because that you don't have to be there for. And actually, by the time you come back, if it's gonna take an hour or an hour and a half, and you're gonna take an hour and an half, you can come back and you can just throw that in the dryer, or you can just hang that up outside, and you can just, see what I'm saying? That's like the whole spiel of it all. So that's what I was learning about, and I was just thinking about this use of time, and how, like, now that I saw this Our Tribe of Many people, right? They're a family of 10 people. They are a family of 10 people. 10 children. Is it 10 children or 10 people? I think it's nine children now. So actually they're 11, a family of 11. And the mum homeschools. The husband works part-time as a financial advisor. Part-time, he is a pastor. Yeah. These people will make you feel like 24 hours is 72 hours with how much they get done. And the thing I love about them, right, where I hear the world, this is why I love listening to people of God and not to the friggin' world who's just so negative all the time. They'll be like, if you ask them, people were asking them after they got pregnant again with their 9th kid, they were like, so are you guys done now? Are you guys done? Everyone's like, why are you having more kids? Like, who has the time? Who has the money? Because everyone's thinking in the worldly sense, who has the time? Who has the money? Time, money, money, time, money, right? That's why the devil made sure that all of us wanted to work and have jobs or be away from the kids so that he can have his way with them. Exactly why we're doing a mass exodus from the education system. I don't care. We're exodusing. And I'm going to do whatever it takes in my life to make sure that there is no excuse for anybody not to take that option. Anyway, so they're homeschooling. She's homeschooling. The homeschooling is going well. Her kids are obviously ahead because kids who are homeschooled are always ahead. And then people be like, well, what about their social life? I'm like, so you'd rather they spend time around all these other probably unsupervised, contaminated children that are coming from broken, dysfunctional homes that are encouraging each other for the wrong things. There is bullying. There's all these negative things about going to school that we've normalized. And now the thing that are all to do with social interaction. But then the thing that we're upset about with homeschooling is that, oh, where's the social interaction? Like, oh yeah, oh my gosh, you know what? Actually, yeah, let me not homeschool. Let me let my child go to school and get bullied. Let me get my child go to school and have so-and-so telling them this or teaching them that. Let me go and do that instead. That sounds amazing. That really sounds like I love them. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, come on now. So these guys homeschool and it works. The kids are ahead. The kids are happy. The kids are thriving. They're all in their own little destinies. And they're all just like hyper talented kids. Like they all play like a couple of instruments and they're all really massively scientifically smart. And they're all really massively responsible. And they all know how to cook and they all know how to do everything, right? They all know how to do everything. And they're all very caring, loving. And their family does lots of very humble things to not, I love some of the little things that they do. Like, for example, one of them is, I think it's, at Christmas, the kids don't buy, like they don't all get loads and loads and loads of presents. They all get like just maybe 1 or 2 presents. And also not necessarily even something really big, just something because, why will we spend the money and whatever. We don't care about material things. The kids are cool with that. And then they do a sibling secret Santa. So they only have to buy a present for one of their siblings. And it's really cute to see because they all participate no matter what age that they're at. And that's another thing that actually benefits children in teaching. This is not a video about teaching. Being around people who are different age groups and learning from the different age groups is really beneficial for kids. That's why I get so frustrated with the older generation that when they have an opportunity to correct a young person or a child, that instead they choose to complain and just, say everything is the worst with us and everything is wrong with us, then actually take a moment to say, hey, you know what, and just have that conversation. And I do that with young people all the time, even if they're random strangers, like just messing around. I'll drop them a little nugget of wisdom because you know what? Sometimes they may listen, they may not, but the point is I could either do one thing or the other. Yeah. So it's a very wholesome environment, basically, is what I'm saying. What the heck? So them all growing up around each other and all kind of helping each other and having like their own like mini village situation going on. It's made it so that their life is like the amount of time that they have, like as a couple, they're going out, they're having date night, they're doing this, they're doing that, they're picking up more responsibilities. They're not worried about having another kid. Like people are, oh, you worried about having more kids? They're like, when they were asked how many more kids are you going to have or when you're going to stop, and they were just like, they looked at each other in the video and they just went, whenever the Lord like decides this is going to stop is when we're going to stop, because we're just going to keep going because we're just figuring all of this out. And the way that this woman organizes her home as well, for me, is insane. I'm like, you are top tier. She's top tier because she's doing it and she's organizing like all of these children. Insane. Love to see it, And these are the things I'd be thinking about when it comes to time, because other people will then be the same people that go to like a job. They start at 9 and they finish at 5. And then they don't have time to go to the gym. Gym memberships are actually cheap in the United Kingdom. I don't know about everywhere else, right? I don't know why I'm thinking about the gym so much. I really don't. Oh, probably because I lost weight, you guys. I'm so excited about that. And I was not from going to the gym specifically. But anyway. Yeah, I wasn't from going to the gym. Anyway. So, and it's not as Ozempic. Oh my gosh. I'm like, so I'm looking at this lady over there who's like managing a whole home of 9 children of all ages, from about a baby up until a 16-year-old, right? 17-year-old. Yeah. And she's happy, she's jovial, she has time, she's got a positive attitude to what she's doing, and she's not even worried about if there's another one and another one and another one and another one. Husband as well. Okay, this night he's cooking dinner, they're making food on the grill outside, the kids are involved, the kids like baking and they like doing all this stuff, and right. Also, working out and whatnot is being done. Like everything is being done. And also the kids are getting really good social interactions as well. Like they had a little community, and then all the kids in the community put on these plays. It's so cute. Love to see it. On the other hand, you have a single person who wakes up, drinks some coffee, drives to work, goes through Starbucks and orders their food, goes to work, sitting at a desk from 9 till 5, right? Orders their lunch to where they sit, or eats the lunch at the cafeteria, walks 5-10 minutes, comes home, like barely does any cooking, because people don't really cook. As somebody who loves to cook myself, I am consistently bewildered at how bad the adult population is at cooking. Oh my goodness. It's painful. It's actually one of the only painful things I can't actually watch. Like it gets to a point with people that cook badly. I'm just like, I can't watch that. I like watching Dr. Pimple Popper. I like watching the gory stuff. I don't mind a bit of blood and guts, a bit of weapons. I don't mind a bit of this, that, and the other. But my goodness, bad cooking. Jesus, right? So people going home, cooking, throwing in whatever, not really doing anything, right? And then I don't have time to go to the gym. Can we see how those two lives, they don't add up? I was thinking about this about Marcus Rogers again. He's my favorite man of God. I've said it many times. I say that because he doesn't get a lot of respect in the Christian community, and I think he's truly a true man of God, right? Him, everything is in order. Him and his wife, in order, happy. Again, going out on dates, going out on doing this, like the Christian people who are married are very happy. Can I just tell you, they're happy. I'm seeing them going to Dubai. I'm seeing them, like me and my wife went to the Bahamas for 2 weeks because I realized I was letting the ministry go too far, and I neglected my woman, and I'm going to now take her to the Bahamas for 2 weeks. I was like, you guys, please. And when they're out there, they're eating good, they're spending money, they have money, and they're having money. And praise Jesus, because Jesus came to give us life and life abundantly. Abundance is part of the blood of Jesus. Okay. Right. So they're doing all of that. So that's not even Marcus from that particular story, but Marcus has got his wife, he's got his kids, he's got 8 of them. And all these Christian people be having like 8, 9, 10 kids. And just every day they're pregnant. I'm getting sick of seeing the pregnancy announcements. I'm just like, well, I've just messed up, because I want to be a part of all of this. It's like, oh, she's pregnant again. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is insane, right? But then the church is in order. They have strong ministries, maybe not church, but a ministry. They're on YouTube. They're on all social media platforms. They also like either make music, like Marcus Rogers, he also makes music. They're also starting a school. They're also doing all these conferences. Everything is in order. They still have time. The other day, Marcus released like the most precious video ever. And he was outside playing basketball with his sons. And my immediate thought was, where do you get the time for these things? Because you're doing so many things. I see you doing everything. Among everything, he's live every 5 minutes. Not every 5 minutes. I'm just saying that he's very, active on social media, has a whole family to look after, has to work, doesn't ask the church for money. He's very much like, we do these things. His event for his church, he's like, everything we do is for free. It's all for free, so you can just come along. And I love that. Love to see it, right? See, because again, we don't need to. When you have the Lord, and the Lord is your provider, then the things, the provision, the limited, the finite provisions of the world, such as time and money, don't matter to you anymore. Like Abraham and Sarah. Like, who cares that Abraham's 100? I'm God. In matter of fact, next time I'm going to wait till somebody gets to 1,000, and that's going to be the next Mary. Matter of fact. No, I'm joking. There's not going to be a next Mary, because you don't need another Jesus. But you guys get the gist. That's why I know God is a super humble guy, because he really don't be showing off the way that he could. I mean, he does with the view I can see right now. It's absolutely stunningly gorgeous out here. And you can't make this. People work their whole life. Artists are spending time. Again, this is why Adam and Eve were idiots, by the way. We're going to get to that in a second. I'm going to actually do that as a separate video about time, but like, people will spend their life, let's leave it with this. People will spend their life trying to paint something that looks exactly like maybe the trees behind me here, whatever, right? And if they can do that, we consider that an incredible skill. So how do we not see that how incredible God is for the fact that he just did that in 7 days? 6 days he made the world, and it's like on the 7th day he rested. He didn't even have to let us know. He just wanted to let us know what he does with time. And that's again why I believe that time doesn't exist, because it all started anyways with entropy. It all started when everything started to go downhill, which was because of when? Adam and Eve. We're going to talk about that separately. I'm going to make that a separate video because this video is kind of long. But Adam and Eve. So stay tuned for that. But this is why I don't believe that time actually exists. And I don't believe we should care about time. I think we should care about God, and I think we should follow what he's telling us to do. And just like the scripture I say to you guys is my scripture of choice when I have no words left to pray, and all I can say is the most important scripture that I hold on to. And it's in Proverbs 3 something. Trust in the Lord your God with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make straight your path. Oh my gosh, I love that scripture, because it is so true. And it is why sometimes even I experience times where I'm like, time has been warped. Time has been warped because I can't believe the things that can happen. I can't believe that with everything that I do, how busy I am, that I have time to sit and make videos as much as I do is insane. When I was at university and I was studying full-time degree, and the rule was you're supposed to study double the number of hours that you spend in lectures and tutorials and everything. I was working a job. I was doing dance 4 or 5 times a week, 2 to 3 hours, cheerleading twice a week, 3 hours. I was doing so much, and I had a social life, and I used to take Thursdays off. Or I'd pick it, depending on the year, it would be a different day. A whole day where I would do nothing. And people, and I know that it is the grace of God, because it's not possible, but I did it. You know what I'm saying? Just like with this family I mentioned, it's not possible in the worldly sense, but in a godly sense. And the reason why we feel like it's not possible when time doesn't exist is because time only started to affect us when we reduced ourselves. We had to come down to the natural world. We're in the spiritual world. Adam and Eve didn't even see they were naked anyways. I'm going to talk about Adam and Eve because we got a lot to say. You guys know I've been talking about Adam and Eve. I'm like obsessed with Adam and Eve because that's where it all went wrong. I'm like, if that's where it all went wrong, this is the problem we need to solve. You know what I'm saying? Anyways. So yeah, if life's a game, you guys, let's pay to win. My goodness. Come back for Adam and Eve. Anyways, I love you guys. God loves you. And I'll see you in my next one. Goodbye.